Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'd like to speak in English for those Koreans living abroad, especially those who want to know Korean politics and international politics on and off the Korean peninsula. I understand that those Korean patriots and also patriot overseas are so much worrying. They are worrying about the future of the South Korean democracy and well-being of South Korea's economic prosperity, which has been created by the help of the Korea-U.S. alliance under the international Cold War structure period, and we are meeting a new period of new Cold War structure here in Northeast Asia, especially Trump administration, which was inaugurated in February, is highlighting its strategy to counter the rise of China with all the possible means, so that not only in terms of telephone, but many other means, needed to scale down China's influence in Northeast Asian region nowadays. And on the 9th, May, Chinese President Xi Jinping is, going to visit Moscow to meet, Vladimir Putin. And as the Brookings Institute paper written by Patricia Kim, with the title of Xi Jinping's Moscow visit highlight China's strategic vulnerabilities. And between Western skepticism and Russian hedging, China's global ambitions are under strain. Here, she argues that although the China-Russian relationship remains solid, Xi Jinping faces challenges. And over the past year, Moscow has expanded its diplomatic outreach, negotiating directly with Washington and signing a mutual defense pact with North Korea. Xi Jinping's visit offers him an opportunity to reaffirm the strength of the Beijing-Moscow partnership, even as Putin's diplomatic options grow nowadays. Also, we know that Beijing has long believed that period of American distraction or disruption gives an opportunity for China to expand its influence. Chinese leaders have been actively courting Europe, Asia, and the global South, positioning Beijing as a more reliable economic and diplomatic partner, especially as Trump's erratic tariffs open musings about annexing foreign territories, cuts to U.S. foreign aid, and disregard for allies and international norms have alienated much of the world. So we understand that China hasn't been subtle. Last month, as the U.S.-China trade war escalated, Xi Jinping toured Vietnam, Malaysia, and Cambodia, signing more than 100 deals on supply chain cooperation, artificial intelligence, health, and green energy. China has also stepped up its courtship of Europe and Asia, rolling out visa exemptions and accelerating working-level talks on economic cooperation. Small talks have been going on rather successfully, but in a larger talks, probably Beijing met a lot of hurdles there. The top diplomat of China, Japan, and South Korea also met for trilateral talks, where Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi pressed for deeper trade and investment ties and the revival of negotiation on a long-stalled trilateral free trade agreement. But I don't think Japanese leadership and the South Korean political circle will respond to China's this kind of active calling for creating this kind of trilateral cooperation framework. Also talking about strategic necessity and growing friction. So why is she taking the risk like this? The answer lies in strategic necessity as competition with the United States intensifies. Beijing views Moscow as an essential, if risky, as an essential partner. And what has Chinese officials nervous? It's not a potential Trump-Putin rapprochement, but the tightening of ties between Putin and Kim Jong-un. The recently signed Russia-North Korean defense pact has only deepened these anxieties. Chinese analysts are increasingly uneasy about Russia's expanding and opaque military ties with Pyongyang and their potential to create instability right on its doorstep. Well, this is happening every day. And also, Beijing is particularly wary about Putin, wary that Putin could position himself as a broker between Trump and Kim Jong-un, marginalizing China and redirecting U.S. attention away from faltering negotiations on Ukraine. For Beijing, long accustomed to playing a central role in Korean Peninsula diplomacy, ceding its position to Moscow would be seen as a serious blow. Still, Xi Jinping isn't inclined to make new concessions to Putin, and Russia's economy is faltering. Its military is overstretched, and its diplomatic leverage with the West remains limited. China continues to dominate the economic relationship, and that imbalance isn't likely to change soon, though it's increasingly a source of Kremlin's resentment, something like that. How about a diplomatic tightrope for China? For China, Russia is both a strategic asset and a potential liability, an ally in confronting Western dominance, yet also a source of risk. A weakened Russia can't fully serve Beijing's strategic goals, yet a resurgent, independent Russia could on one day emerge as a rival. It wasn't so long ago that China and the United Soviet Union were bitter adversaries facing off across a heavily militarized 4,000-kilometer frontier against each other. So Beijing's ideal outcome is a Russia strong enough to push back against the West, but weak enough to remain secure in China's orbit. Managing this delicate balance, however, is becoming more difficult and carries global consequences. So this time, Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow exposes the contradictions at the heart of China's foreign policy. The belief that Beijing could capitalize on American dysfunction while maintaining credibility with Europe and Asia is proving naive. Xi Jinping's embrace of an autocrat abroad is not strengthening China's global hand, it is narrowing it. It is narrowing. So I think this kind of new moves by Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow on the 9th May will surely create a new atmosphere for Beijing and Russia to cooperate, but still with a lot of limited options and expanded Trump administration's influence to check and balance the rise of China, especially aligning with Russia, checking and balancing the international aggressive approaches in Northeast Asia and in the Pacific areas. This kind of new moves in a new Cold War structure is creating more and more tensions between Beijing and Washington, although they are trying to solve it in a hidden talks. But contradictions are too high and too big to be solved in a short time period, I think. And what shall we do? South Korea, a divided nation, about 10th largest economy in the world, and about 5th and the 6th largest defense industry nation in the world, but still so much handicapped by the divisions, also facing North Korea's nuclear weapons, with a number of more than 50, maximum to 100. And also, China's all the influential operations, to make all the Korean social framework and social ties more friendly to Beijing, moving away from past Washington Korea-U.S. alliance. This is creating a lot of conflict and schism within Korean political circle and Korean society. And North Korea is still playing, using divided structures here for Kim Jong-un to survive, probably making South Korean defense capability weak, making Korea, U.S., Japan trilateral framework, broken if possible. So we are in a period of presidential election. Probably not probably 3rd June we are going to have a new president elected by election, presidential election. But such a critical moment, who will be elected? What kind of personalities? What kind of international views as a new president of South Korea, especially in this critical moment? Will he more consolidate Korea-U.S. alliance, or will he move more to Beijing's one road and one belt strategies, which has been proved to be a failure, not a successful approach? The option is clear. South Korea's past success is based on Korea-U.S. alliance and military alliance and ties, and also Seungman Lee, founder of the Korean Republic, made a wide choice, deciding to adopt a liberal democratic system from the Western powers, like Britain, Canada, France, and Germany, United States, and so on and so on. So South Korea has been aligned with these kind of Western powers during the Cold War structure period and has been benefited a lot. But as I explained to you, Xi Jinping's very, very aggressive international aggressive approaches has created a lot of tensions against Washington. Washington is responding with all the measures, especially second Trump administration is responding with all the harsh measures, not only in telephone, but also with all the other measures, mobilizing all the allied powers, to check the rise of Chinese military power and economic power in the world system. So South Korea is facing really a lot of challenges and risks. And who will be elected in the coming presidential election will decide the future of South Korean economic outlook and security framework. This is a very critical moment. So we have to be very careful and we have to be very wise, to choose a political leader with balanced international insight and also with a very, very democratic philosophical foundations to integrate the divided people on the Korean Peninsula. Also with a strong anti-communism senses, because we are facing very, very militant North Korean regime still trying to communalize the Korean Peninsula with all the means available, even though economically they are starving, militarily and mentally still they are united, even though they are one of the poorest nations in the world with strong dictatorship. Parochial dictatorial regime, something like that, totalitarian, not a communism, something like that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, South Korea is in this kind of critical moment. We have to be very careful. We have to be very much aware of this kind of very acute political changes in the international politics, new winds coming into the Korean Peninsula. But we can do it if we are united and if all patriot and all leaders and liberal citizens are united to meet these kind of challenges and create a second miracle for a South Korean democracy in the future. Thank you. I will finish my English commentating today. Thank you so much.